Hey everyone, Pastor George here with Culture Thursdays, and I realized that I've talked about a lot of things, like I've talked about movies, I've talked about books, and I talked about video games last week, but I really have never talked about music that much. And so I thought I would share like one of my favorite music albums that involves Christian themes and stuff like that. And It's a country album because I've been on a country kick maybe for the past like month or so, where that's kind of been the stuff I've been listening to most, which has been a blast. But I like to have a favorite live album for every genre of music that I listen to, right? And so if I find a good live album for a band or for a genre, then I kind of like recommend that one because I think live albums are great because like you pick up on all the nuances of like the way the performer interacts with the crowd and like how people get really into it, and there are great ones. And so I have like a four or five that I recommend to people. So like the best rock live album of all time is Cheap Trick live at Budokan. There's Cheap Trick is just really they're fine. They're not a great band, but that album is amazing. Totally worth listening to. My favorite electronic live album is Daft Punk's Alive 2007. That's a great album. My favorite Christian live album is Keith and Kristen Getty at the Gospel Coalition, which is great. And my favorite country live album is Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison, which is a wonderful album that he recorded at a prison. Out of all of the albums that are live, it's probably the one that's played to the smallest audience. I think he played it to like 200 people, but it clearly was one of the best concerts ever given within the country music. The album is very famous. Of course, he has that famous song, Folsom Prison Blues, right, which is featured prominently on the album. But one of the great things about Johnny Cash is I think he's one of those artists that does a really good job of being a Christian artist, but not, how do I say this? But not making that his only thing, right? Not making that his exclusive. So like Christian artists today are like only singing about God and things like that, and that's not bad. But I think at the same time, it limits the audience a lot. Like I don't think Johnny Cash would have had as much reach as he did if he did that, right? But he sung about all sorts of different things, and I think that ended up benefiting his ministry in the sense of like what he did through his music quite a bit, especially towards the late '60s when he got more into the gospel part of his life, more explicitly Christian part of his life, right? That ended up really forming the majority of his music. I'm trying to block the light. Sorry. This is a great album, and the best song on the album, in my opinion, is actually the very last song, and it's a song called "Greystone Chapel," and it's this great song that was written by a prisoner at Folsom Prison, and he handed it to Johnny Cash the night before he performed it, and Johnny Cash, you know, did a pretty amazing thing, which is I think it might have been a poem, and Johnny Cash set it to music and performed it the next day. And it's a great song, and I'll link it in the description below. And I just think it's like totally worth listening to if you get a chance. I don't get to write Salah Saturdays, so this is my chance to recommend a piece of Christian music to you guys, even though it comes from a guy who was Christian, but not explicit in all of his music with that type of thing. But ends up creating a song that I think means a lot to people, and I think has a really good Christian themes in it. So if you ever have a chance, it's worth listening to the entire Live at Folsom Prison album by Johnny Cash, and it's definitely worth listening to Greystone Chapel, which comes right at the very end. So yeah, that was Culture Thursdays. Maybe I'll recommend more music in the future. We'll see. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for Mailbag. Got a good question coming up. You guys have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Peace out.